Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayak Allah. And I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to call this yet, but I heard about the story on the jewelry heist at the Louve, and I just wanted to take a quick look at it. I have a short video that I want to show, and then I have a couple verses that I want to bring out, so this probably won't be very long. But first, let's go ahead and start with the video. And this is for fair use. This is only for edification purposes only. This channel is not monetized, so this is not to make any money off of this. It's merely for edification purposes. And I'll probably let this play all the way through.
After the dramatic theft of crown jewels at the Louvre Museum 1 week ago, 2 suspects have been arrested. The story was first broken by Le Parisien newspaper. Its report said that the men were originally from the northern Paris suburb of Saint-Saint-Denis, and one was arrested there. The other arrested while attempting to board a flight to Algeria from Paris's Charles de Gaulle airport. Now, 1 week ago, if you recall.
I don't know anything about the neighborhood Saint-Saint-Denis, but I noticed one thing: since they found these 2 suspects, that they haven't shown any visuals, haven't shown any pictures of what they look like. And usually, when that kind of thing happens in the news, that usually just means that it's Esau, because if it was one of the Israelites of one of the nations, they'd have his face plastered all over the screen. So I just wanted to say that. I'll let this continue.
The thieves carried out a dramatic daytime heist at the Louvre. That's the world's most visited museum. The robbers positioned themselves at the south side of the building and used a vehicle-mounted extendable ladder to reach the second floor of the balcony window. They made off with 8 pieces, but they dropped the crown of Napoleon III's wife while fleeing. The damages were still estimated at 8.
The crown of Napoleon III's wife. I wonder where Napoleon got it from, but we'll take a look at Napoleon.
88 million euros. No jewelry has yet been recovered. 4 men were seen taking part in that robbery, so 2 others remain on the run.
This video, filmed by security guards in the Louvre, shows 2 robbers leaving the crime scene. They make their way down with a boom lift stationed outside and escape on 2 scooters just seconds before the police arrive. Meanwhile, an alarm is raised in the museum, sending panicked crowds running out of the Louvre. Upstairs, where the burglars broke in, a security guard had just started her shift and describes what happened.
There were 3 of us at that moment on that level of the gallery, and so we saw something very violent. A very violent commotion, the noise. But without being able to interpret what it was, we thought it might be a visitor getting angry. We realized almost simultaneously that it was a robbery. So in a matter of seconds, we evacuated everyone from the gallery, and we closed all the connecting doors so that the intruders couldn't get into the other rooms.
The robbery lasted less than 5 minutes. At 9:34 a.m., 2 men climbed to the first floor. At 9:35 a.m., they broke the glass, entered the gallery, and attacked the display cases protecting the jewelry. This journalist was able to view the Louvre's surveillance camera footage.
You see on the CCTV footage that the glass case protecting the jewelry was solid. The burglars used an angle grinder, but then were looking for other tools too. And then one of them wearing a yellow vest managed to make a hole, but only after elbowing the glass very hard.
9:30.
Now, why don't they show the actual footage? Why is this computer-generated image? Why don't they show the real footage?
6 a.m., two security guards try to intervene. They approach the thieves but then back away, afraid that they might be armed. The criminals continue to attack the display cases.
We see one of them reach in, grab the jewelry, put it into a bag, while the other one is having more trouble, literally shoulder charging the glass case like a rugbyman.
At 9:38 a.m., the two thieves flee the gallery.
The jewelry falls to the ground and they pick it up. The thief wearing the helmet literally dives headfirst out onto the boom lift. He doesn't even take the time to step over. He just swings himself over, so you can see he's in a hurry.
And the Paris prosecutor confirming that two men have been taken into custody at a press conference. We'll begin an update on that investigation and what's next for the men that are still on the run and the jewels that have yet to be recovered. If you're missing five...
All right. So I noticed that they did say the camera angle was not directly on them, but I thought they said that was outdoors. But it's just strange that they don't show the actual footage of what actually occurred here. And I wanted to just take a look at this Louve museum. Although I've heard of it, you know, it's famous for, I think, having the Mona Lisa in it and some other jewels. But I asked ChatGPT exactly what is in this museum. Let's see. Or maybe I went to Google to ask what was in there. Let me take a look. Yeah, I went to Google. So let me take a look at Google first. And it says the Louvre houses a vast collection of art and historical artifacts, including famous works like the Mona Lisa, Venus de Milo, and the Winged Victory of Samothrace. The museum also displays works from ancient civilizations such as the Great Sphinx of Tanis and the Code of Hammurabi. Other notable items include French crown jewels. That's what they took out of the Louvre, the French crown jewels, or some of the French crown jewels. Paintings like the coronation of Napoleon and the wedding at Cana, and numerous other sculptures, paintings, and artifacts from around the world. It says antiquities and historical artifacts. The Great Sphinx of Tanis, a colossal sphinx discovered in the ruins of Tanis. The Code of Hammurabi, an ancient Babylon law code. French crown jewels, a collection of historic jewelry including diamonds like the Regent and Sancy. Diana of Versailles, a Roman marble statue of the goddess Diana. Marley horses, a group of horse sculptures that were originally part of a fountain. And I noticed that they mentioned the crown of Napoleon's wife had been left behind. I guess they dropped that as they were trying to leave out of there. But I guess a lot of jewels were taken by Napoleon in some of his various battles that he had. So I went to ChatGPT and asked about where Napoleon got the jewels and got the crown that he had given to his wife. It says, where did Napoleon get the jewels given to his wife? And it says Napoleon Bonaparte gave his first wife, Josephine de Beauharnais, a variety of luxurious jewels. some which became famous. The jewels were sourced in several ways, with many coming from Napoleon's conquests and wealth accrued through his empire building. Here are a few key ways the jewels were obtained. 1. Loot from conquests. As Napoleon expanded his empire across Europe, he often seized treasures and wealth from the countries he conquered. Some of the jewels he gifted to Josephine likely came from the royal treasure of places like Spain, Italy, and the Netherlands. The French Empire had access to the riches of these countries after their defeats. 2. Royal jewels and historical collections. Some jewels were inherited or part of the French royal collection. After the French Revolution, many of the royal family's jewels were either sold off or claimed by the state. Napoleon, with his rise to power, gained access to many of these royal treasures, and some were given to Josephine as a symbol of his growing power and status. 3 says custom creations. Napoleon also commissioned bespoke pieces of jewelry, often from prominent jewelers like Francois Renaud Netot, the official jeweler to the French court. These pieces were crafted for Josephine and reflected her prominent position as Empress of France. For instance, Napoleon had a famous Regent diamond set into a necklace for Josephine, and Netot created intricate tiaras, necklaces, and bracelets using diamonds, rubies, and other precious stones. It says 4. Napoleon's personal wealth. Napoleon's personal wealth, which stemmed from his empire and the immense resources it generated, also founded many of these luxurious gifts. He had access to vast sums of money, which allowed him to commission jewels that were not just beautiful, but also symbols of his power and his ambitious capture. It says, in short, the jewels given to Josephine were a mixture of looted treasures, royal heirlooms, custom pieces, and gifts funded by Napoleon's personal fortune. These gifts were intended to symbolize his power and affection for his wife, who was an important figure during the height of his reign. So they're making a whole lot of a big deal about these jewels. And you can see that some of these jewels that Napoleon acquired were acquired through conquest. You know, different battles that he was in. After he defeated these various places, he would loot them and take their riches. All right. And from here, I'm gonna go to the scripture. I got a few that I want to bring out, because some of what Napoleon did was obtained through battles that he would been in, and he would loot or take the spoils. And we're going to take a look at that word spoil. I'm going to go to Numbers chapter 31, and I'm going to jump around a little bit, and then Salakia for if I go into and don't fully explain. But some these chapters, you have to go into these and read these for yourself. Because just in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm going to go to Numbers chapter 31 and verse 9. And it says, and the children of Israel took all the women of the Midian captives and their little ones, and took the spoil of their cattle and all their flocks and all their goods. So I wanted to take a look at this word spoil, just like I said we would. Let's see, Salakia. All right, it is H962, and I'll give you a pronunciation of the word.
Strong's H962. Bazaz. Bazaz.
All right, so a spoil is, it says under the biblical usage, it says to spoil, plunder, prey upon, or to seize. So to take the spoils would be to seize the treasures or the goods of a country or nation after you defeated them. That is one of the outcomes of victory over another nation. You take their spoils, you take their goods. All right, it says Strong's definition. It says to plunder, catch, gather, take for a prey, spoil, to take away, spoil utterly. All right, and I'm going to go back into Numbers chapter 31. I'm going to drop down to 17. And it says, now, therefore, kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that hath known man by lying with him. It says, but all the women, children, and that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. So these are part of the spoils. These are, and this is a victory over the Midianites, whom the Lord Yahweh told Noah to have the Israelite men go in and to capture. And as you can see, the men were killed off, but the spoils were taken. And all the women who have not known a man, meaning have not, who were virgins, who had not had sex with a man, those were part of the spoils. That was part of what the treasures that was taken. All right. And so this is sanctioned by the Lord. This is part of the spoil. This is part of war. This is what happens in war. All right. The victor takes the spoils. I know you've heard that saying before. All right. So this is sanctioned by the Lord. This is part of war. This is what happens as a result of losing a war to another nation. All right. And I just wanted to read a few more verses here. I'm going to drop down to 21. It says, and Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war which went to battle, and Eleazar is the brother of Moses in Salakia. Eleazar is the son of Aaron, and Aaron is the brother of Moses. All right, and they are Levites, so they would be in charge of the temple, and they are the priest of Israel at this time. All right, so I'll start again. Verse 21 says, and Eleazar the priest said unto the men of war which went to the battle, this is the ordinance of the law which the Lord Yahweh commanded Moses. Verse 22, it says, only the gold and the silver, the brass, the iron, the tin, and the lead, everything that may abide the fire, ye shall make it go through the fire, and it shall be clean. Nevertheless, it shall be purified with the water of separation, and all that abideth not the fire, ye shall make go through the water. All right. So this is an effort to purify the things that had been taken, or the spoils that had been taken. All right. And as you can see, this next area right before verse 25, it says division of booty. And we're going to take a look at that word booty also. All right. And for that, to take a look at that, I wanted to drop down to verse 41, because these treasures would be divided up. All right. And it says, verse 41, and Moses gave the tribute, which was the Lord's heave offering, unto Eleazar the priest, as the Lord Yahweh commanded Moses. All right. So a portion would go to Yahweh. All right. Not all these treasures would be keeping. The Levites would take these treasures into the temple, and these were given to the Lord. These were treasures unto the Lord. All right. So verse 42, it says, and the children of Israel's half, which Moses divided from the men that warred. All right, I'm not going to go into all of how the division takes place, but I just wanted to read that just to point out that of these treasures, not all the men of Israel will get to just separate them amongst their houses, but half of the spoil was taken and given to the Lord. All right, and I want to back up here because I wanted to take a look at that word booty. And I'm going to read verse 41 also in the NLT. It says, Moses gave all the Lord's share to Eleazar the priest, just as the Lord Yahweh had directed him. And let's see if I can't find that word booty in here somewhere. And we'll take a look at it. All right, this is verse 32. It says, and the booty, being the rest of the prey which the men of war had caught, was 600,000 and 70,000 and 5,000 sheep, which is 675,000 sheep and goats. But I wanted to read that verse just to take a look at the word booty. And it is H4455. And I'll give you a pronunciation of it.
Strong's H4455. Mount Koach. Mount Koach.
And under the biblical usage, it says booty or prey. So I want to take a look at the root of the word so we can get more of a definition here. And I'll give you a pronunciation.
Strong's H3947. Lakach. Lakach.
All right, and it says under the biblical usage, to take, get, to fetch, lay hold of, or seize, to receive, acquire, buy, bring, marry, take a wife, snatch, or take away. So all these things that the Israelite men had taken from the Midianites were booty, were spoiled. These were things that they were entitled to have according to the Lord's law as a reward for defeating the Midianites. All right. And let's see what it says in the Strong's definition. It says to take, accept, bring, buy, carry away, drawn, fetch, get, or enfold. Many mingle, to place, receive, to reserve, seize, to send for, or take, or use, or win. All right, that's just to give you an idea of what the booty is. Booty is the spoils, is part of the spoils. All right, and it did include the women who have not known a man. All right, now these are, like I said, these are what's sanctioned by the Lord as a result of war. All right, and I just have a few more verses that I wanted to go into because like I said, they didn't really show a picture of these men who had taken from the Louve, but like I said, usually when they do that's a result of, it being Esau, or because they usually have the Israelites splashed all over the TV, even if they haven't gone to court, even if they are just suspects, they put them up on the screen immediately. All right. But I wanted to also touch upon, and going back into Exodus, that even when the Israelites were leaving Egypt, and I'm going to go into chapter 3, and I'm going to drop down to verse 21. Because even though the army of Pharaoh had not been destroyed just quite yet, Moses was about to escort the Israelites from Egypt. And as a result of the plagues that he had done, that the Lord Yahweh had brought upon Egypt, Pharaoh had declared that he was officially letting the Israelites go. And they were also, the Lord had instructed them that they would carry spoils and riches and gold and silver and other things from the Egyptians. All right, so I just wanted to touch upon that. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 21, it says, "And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it shall come to pass when ye go, ye shall not go empty, but every woman shall borrow of her neighbor and of her that sojourneth in her house jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment, and ye shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and ye shall spoil the Egyptians." In the NLT, verse 21, it says, "And I will cause the Egyptians to look favorably upon you. They will give you gifts from when you go, so you will not leave empty-handed." All right, these are things that the Lord said that he was going to put it upon the Egyptians, that they would give these things, they would give these spoils over to the Israelites, because the Israelites had toiled and worked and built up Egypt. All right, so these things that the Lord were giving to the Egyptians, for the Egyptians had earned these things. Salakia, the Israelites, given to the Israelites. The Israelites had earned these things. They had built up Egypt, and they weren't to go empty-handed, for these were things that they possessed, they earned. Verse 22 in the NLT, it says, "Every Israelite woman will ask for articles of silver and of gold and of fine clothing from her Egyptian neighbors and from the foreign women in their houses. You will dress your sons and daughters with these, stripping the Egyptians of their wealth." All right, so the Israelites didn't leave empty-handed. The Israelites had riches. They already had plenty of riches. Even that you can see earlier in the book of Genesis, Abraham had many riches. All right. So these are things that have been passed. These are riches that have been passed down throughout generations. The Israelites had riches in their possessions. They had riches they had built up into their temple, because as I showed you, the spoils that they took from the Midianites, that those half of those spoils were given to the priest, that it was taken into the temple. All right. So the point that I'm getting at is that the worldly things, these gold, these trinkets, these things that had been taken from the Louve, these things were, like I said, these were worldly items, but these are items that Napoleon himself had taken in war, things that he had looted from the other nations, and then somehow they ended up in a museum. So France was holding on to these riches. All right, these riches were taken from other nations. They could have been returned to the nations. They got a history that they just showed you, that they know where these trinkets and a lot of these things have been taken from, but they saw not to put them back where they had been taken from. They kept them for themselves. They kept them and put them in a museum. All right, so just the times that we're living in is showing you that even though this might have been Esau who stole these items, who went into the Louvre and took these items, these items are rightfully being taken out of the hands of Esau. These are not your riches. These are not things that belong to you. All right, and the kingdom your kingdom is coming to an end. All right, this is just one example, and this is showing the world that these riches that you and your ancestors had stolen, all right, had taken from other places, looted from other places, those very items that you have stored and had on display, just to have on display for yourselves, to show the riches that your country has, they have been taken, all right? They've been taken, and probably by your own people, all right? And now it's such a big deal to apprehend these men and to find where these riches are, because you want to take possession or regain possession and put them back into your museum, all right? And from what they said, there was some inside help, all right? So even your own people are suffering, and they're going through taking desperate measures. They did this in broad daylight. They're going through desperate measures in order to take, so that they will be able to provide for their own family, provide for themselves, because they themselves seeing that their governments don't care about them. All right, the governments take from them and take riches and put them in a museum just so they can have them on display, rather than returning them back to their rightful owners. All right, and I'm not going to make this very long. I just got a couple more verses that I wanted to bring out. I want to go over to Joel. And chapter 3. And I'm just going to read a few verses here. And then that'll be the end of this lesson. And I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "For behold," and you can see that the title of this right above verse 1, it says the nations will be judged, and judgment is going out even right now. All right, it says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink." In verse 4 says, "Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon?" Those are African nations. "And all the coast of Palestine. Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your head." And I want to read that in the NLT. It says, "What do you have against me, Tyre and Sidon, and you cities of Philistia? Are ye trying to take revenge on me? If you are, then watch out. I will strike swiftly and pay you back for everything you have done." So, like I said, even though these are these worldly items that these men have taken from the Louve, you other nations, Esau and other nations, you've conspired, and you've taken Lord Yahweh's wealth, which is his nation, and you've scattered them throughout the nation, throughout the world. All right, you've taken his goodly thing, you've taken his riches. For we are his riches, and we are the apple of his eye. So these worldly items, these trinkets, these diamonds and these pearls and these other little trinkets that have been taken from the Louvre, you're making such a big deal out of these things. But you've stolen a whole nation, and you've scattered it around the world. And the Lord is going to pay you back for what you have done. I'm going to read down read verse 5. It says, and I'm going to stay in the NLT. It says, "You have taken my silver and gold and all my precious treasures, and have carried them off to your pagan temples. You have sold the people of Judah and Jerusalem to the Greeks, so they could take them far from their homeland." So not only did you raid the temple, but you also have taken the Lord's people, the Israelites, and you have scattered them abroad. And he's going to pay you back for that in the Lord's day. All right. And I have just one more verse that I want to bring out, and that's going to be the end of this. I don't want to make this long. It's going a little bit longer than I thought it would. But these are verses that the Spirit is having me bring out, and I just want to finish up with this last verse. And we're in Exodus chapter 21. And I want to drop down to verse 16. And it says, "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. And Esau, you are guilty because you still have the Israelites in your possession. You still have us scattered into various countries. And even though you label these Edomites with different names such as French and Spaniards and various other names, you are all the same people. You're the people of Esau, and you, along with other nations, have all conspired, and you've scattered the Lord's people throughout the world, and He's going to pay you back for that. And you're beginning to see how your own riches that you've taken, that you've plundered, that you've looted from the nations, is being taken back from you now. This is only the beginning. All right, but I'm going to leave it there. And I pray that this has been edifying to the listener. And I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodesh. Shalom.